Welcome back to the Flicks Forum podcast with Jesse, Heater and MJ. This week we are looking at Netflix's 31st film, the 2017 romantic science fiction film, The Discovery. It's directed by Charlie McDowell. It stars Jason Segel, Rooney Mara, Jesse Plemons, Riley Keough and Robert Redford. Hello.
Romantic sci-fi.
Romantic sci-fi.
Boys. That's actually bang on. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
I think they've done well there. I think you can obviously slip the drama genre in there at some point, but
Probably, yeah.
I think that kind of works. Romantic sci-fi.
Very good. So we always kick off our show with a quick little summary of our thoughts of the film. MJ, go for it.
This is quite wordy, so please bear with me. On the surface, this film is about the idea that a scientist has proved that some form of afterlife exists. As a result of this discovery, people start taking their own lives, a one-way ticket to the afterlife. On closer inspection, this story is about the idea of finding connection with others, your place in the world, and experience all the emotions that a human being is supposed to experience in life. And that's the real discovery.
Touching.
Oh, deep.
And I think,
Wow.
I didn't even know I got that deep.
That's very deep.
Very deep. All right. Heater.
All right, mine is not as deep as Emily's. In the near future, a scientist proves that there is an afterlife. 2 years on from this discovery, with the suicide rate rapidly increasing, he's now trying to explore it further, which coincides with his estranged son returning home in the hope of getting his father to put a stop to it all.
Yes, very true. I said the discovery of an afterlife leads to an outbreak of suicides. Is this really possible? That's what Will wants to work out.
Good.
Is it really possible?
All right, so we always have a look at some film history, anything that we've learnt about the development, pre-production, post-production, production. Heater, your favourite topic. I'm just going to say that every week now.
Oh, I feel like I keep going with the same one, but we're back to the Sundance Film Festival for this one.
We are.
So premiered, the Sundance on Jan 20, released on March 31 on Netflix afterwards.
It did have a cinematic debut in America before that. They did a release on the 20th of March on Rhode Island in Newport, where they actually filmed it. So they did like an opening
So
night.
just on Rhode Island?
Just on Rhode
Okay.
Island, yeah.
Okay.
That's where it was all filmed, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah. It was shot in 25 days as well.
Yeah.
Pretty short.
I can see that.
Yeah, it was all kind of condensed.
Not a lot of
in one area.
locations, yeah.
Yeah.
So the director was his girlfriend's Rooney Mara.
Yep.
Yeah, and his mother was in the film as well.
Yeah, his mother was in it, so just a big family affair.
He's Malcolm McDowell's son.
Ah. Wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Didn't pick that.
He's
Jeez, I like Malcolm
stepson of Ted Danson.
Oh, wow.
So obviously his mum remarried Ted
Yeah.
Danson. And Ted Danson was in his last movie.
Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah. So he was born to be in film.
Yeah, he was.
So his last...
He's done a couple of things.
Probably his biggest film is The One I Love with Elizabeth Moss and Mark Duplass.
Similar sorts of themes to this.
I believe so. It's about relationship and
Yeah.
I think a marriage. I've not seen it. But,
We like Mark Duplass, don't we?
We do, yeah.
I'm keen to see that film, the one I loved.
Yeah, I've put it on my watch list ever since all this. 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb.
Ooh,
from
not bad.
31,000 ratings. So it's
Good one.
People have seen it and people liked it. So
It's done a bit of Silicon Valley as well.
yeah, I saw that as well.
The film, though, it was originally written to take place in like a sleepy little rural sort of town, and then Charlie McDowell, they rewrote it because they found the location and they fell in love with the visuals of the area. And I thought the visuals of the film were really good.
Oh, they were really good.
Yeah, and I think it
worked really
changes
well.
The fact that it was on,
It had to be on water.
water.
Like, I can't imagine it not being on water now.
but also they felt separated from the rest of the world as well. Like
Yeah.
making a point of taking that ferry
has
across.
to get there. Yeah. Again, I'm not sure how a lot of those things happen if it's in rural and you don't have that water aspect.
I like the fact that Justin Lader, who wrote the film with Charlie McDowell, so they've worked together, the pair of them as well. And after they finished The One I Love, he's like, I got this idea from the film, and Charlie McDowell's like, dude, like, we just finished this one. Like, we just finished it. He goes, no, I know, but I just want you to answer this question. What if the afterlife was scientifically proven? And how would humans react? And they're just like... and they were just straight away just started writing it. And I could totally understand how that notion... I love it when there's a film that thinks about this idea that no one's ever thought of, and you're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
what would happen in that sense?
Yeah. And it's such like, I don't know, you call it like, it's, I don't want to say a common thing, but it's just like so obvious it could be like a movie or something. Like, it's this thing that's kind of like everywhere. Yeah, like, oh my God, there's someone's actually finally doing it. Had I think it's one of our first ones where someone's been replaced on a movie. I think there's maybe on the International Assassin, or was the
do-over.
yeah, no. The Kevin James one, someone pulled out. But yeah, so Nicholas Hoult was cast for the lead role, but had to drop out, and Jason Segel replaced him.
It's a really different film.
Really different. I'm really glad they went that way, because I thought Jason Segel was really good in this. I can't imagine Nicholas Hoult as that
I can
main guy.
see it. It would be okay.
Very different.
Yeah.
It's a different film.
I mean, Nicholas Holt's obviously been in a lot of stuff. For me, the main one I think Nicholas Hoult straight away, it's Mad Max Fury Road as Nux, and I'm like, oh.
But that's it.
Yeah, obviously it's completely different. I guess also, I found this out after watching the movie, and I'm like, I really like Jason Segel in this movie. I'm really glad there wasn't.
Nicholas Hoult and Rooney Mara feel like a better pairing, though.
I do agree with that. I mean, I didn't really like the pairing of Rooney Mara and Jason Segel. But yeah, that actually, now you say that, yeah, that pairing makes a lot more sense now.
I was thinking you could have almost had Leo DiCaprio, like a Shutter Island type performance.
Straight away, it's too much like Shutter Island, then, isn't it? Like.
Leo DiCaprio would have been huge.
Yeah. I mean, if you're getting Robert Redford for a Netflix movie, like, surely Leo's going to do one soon.
So I was reading about that as well. So the director Charlie McDowell obviously put it out to agencies or whatever, and someone mentioned that Robert Redford was available during this period, and he's like, dude, like, Robert Redford's not going to do this film. And he met with him, and Robert Redford's like, you would be so surprised at how many people just think that I wouldn't do things, or I'm not around for things, they just don't even ask me. So he just doesn't even get asked. So he read the script, he liked it, he read, and he's like, yeah, I'll do it. And he's like, how do I have Robert Redford?
I've got Robert Redford doing a movie. Like, oh my God.
He's retired now, though, isn't he? Isn't it?
He has retired now.
You know, like,
but
do you ever retire?
He's amazing, though.
So, Jesse Plemons was Toby, the brother, and the song that he sang called Hey Lacey, about the character Lacey on the guitar, he wrote that himself and performed it himself.
He wrote a second song as well that was in there. Yeah, he sung 2 of his own songs in the movie.
Is it the post-credit scene? You see the post-credit scene?
I did see the post-credit. I'd like to talk about that a bit later on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jesse Plemons is an awesome actor.
This
is a small role for him.
Fantastic.
He's an awesome.
Has anyone seen the Black Mirror episode where he plays the captain of the...
I
haven't. So he was so good in that.
Really good.
So good in that. The other thing I had was the mansion, that big mansion that they filmed in. That's the mansion that they used for the Dark Shadows TV show, the Collinwood Mansion.
So nice.
Boo. Anything else?
I don't want to steal your thunder, but I saw a product placement.
Yes, I did too.
Good.
Yeah.
I assume it was the same one.
Apple.
The iPad? Yep.
And the MacBook.
I didn't notice the MacBook.
He got the MacBook out while he had the thing, yeah.
Straight away I thought of you and went, there's the Apple logo. Jesse.
Got it.
There is no doubt you did.
I found it interesting to read about why Charlie McDowell chose this to be on Netflix as well. And it's an easy line to say, but his thing is, I really wanted people to see it. Rather than opening really small amount of locations across the states more than anything, people have access in the whole world to this immediately. But the other reason that he said is it's one of those movies that he thinks you should watch more than once, and the Netflix model obviously perfectly allows for that. And that is certainly a vibe that I got from this film.
I can vouch for that.
You watched it twice?
I didn't put it on Letterboxd, so I didn't want to tell you guys. I watched this twice.
Did you?
Yeah.
So I finished watching it and I'm like, I want to watch it again.
I watched this.
Yeah.
So
I've got that in my. I
watched this. I watched this a week ago, and then 2 nights later I watched it again.
Nice.
I watched it twice.
Well, there you go. The Netflix model.
It's the first movie that we've done that I watched twice.
Yeah. You
Good.
watched Brahman Naman twice? I thought you were going...
Oh, I thought about it.
Sure.
It's still on my list.
Surely you watched the first 10 minutes of Fundamental Parenting. I'm sure you.
Oh, no. I'll watch this again before I do that for you, Jesse. But no, I can absolutely say that this holds up the second time.
Whether it holds up, I think you would watch it. I would watch it so differently.
I had to because I felt like we can talk about it, but I was into this movie, and so I kind of finished watching this movie, and I was like, oh, that was great. I don't have any notes on it because I was just so into watching it. Like, I'm going to watch it again so I can write my notes while I'm watching, and I really enjoyed it the second time around as well.
Well, I just before we can talk about the critical consensus.
So I think we do because we're talking about. By the sound of it, we all enjoyed this.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I was going to ask actually before you were saying because why you put it on Netflix so everyone can see it. Have you heard of this movie before?
Never.
I'd never heard of it, but a lot of people had seen this movie. Like
I remember when it was released.
Yeah, I'd never heard of it, but based on all the ratings on all kind of Letterboxd and IMDb and stuff, a lot of people had seen this movie.
Big push.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Netflix put a lot behind it when it came out on their platforms.
Well, 24,000 ratings on IMDb. I feel like our view of how many ratings are on IMDb are skewed by the fact that we look at so many small Netflix films as well.
Yeah.
So we look at 24,000 and we're like, that's huge.
Some are under 1,000.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In context of that, it's big. But in context of...
not like the big studio movies.
What To All the Boys I Loved Before had 60 or something?
Yeah, not sure.
I can't remember the top of my head. But so it's... Yeah.
So Letterboxd had almost 12,000, yeah. Yeah, so Letterboxd was 3 out of 5, and IMDb was 6.3 out of 10. So both sitting around that
kind of
6
middle of the
out
road.
10. Yeah.
But then you look at the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, 44%.
Yeah.
Really? 1,200.
From 1,200. And even the critics score on Rotten Tomatoes was 45% from 60 reviews.
60 reviews is quite high considering some of the ones we've looked at as well.
Well, I think they're all wrong.
Oh yeah, I'm quite surprised by that. I like this movie.
the reason
obviously,
that-
you two guys like this movie as well.
The reason that I wanted to watch it again was the direction of the film at the start initially confused me, and I reckon I actually battled through the first 20 minutes of this film.
Okay.
I was initially trying to follow a storyline of like the impact of this discovery on the world and how the world was intending to deal with it. And I reckon about the 40-minute mark when I realised that wasn't the story that I was trying to tell, and it was a lot more insular, and it was a lot more philosophical, and it was a lot more of a character-driven piece with Jason Segel's character and Rooney Mara's character. That's when I was like all in. By as I said, the 40-minute mark, I was all in, and I enjoyed the sort of reliability and the conversations and the depths of the conversations that they were having, and that was the best part about this film for me. That's why I want to watch it again, because I'm watching the first 20 minutes, ignoring it, not even thinking about it.
Because I think the first 20 minutes is a good setup for what comes on later. So I reckon you'll probably pick up on, if you watch it a second time, you'll probably pick up on more, or like on that character side of things rather than...
So I'll differ to you in that. I was in from the start. So I really liked that kind of first start bit where it was about kind of like, the afterlife and the effects and things like that. I was all in from the very start of this movie.
So I was in on that, but that wasn't what the film was about. So the first scene was awesome, where the guy shoots himself.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I love it when a movie is like not screwing around with you, and they're straight into it. And we've seen that with a few of our films. But I was really following that idea that this is going to be a scale thing. And when that wasn't happening, I was like, why are you showing me this weird conversation between Jason Segel and Rooney Mara on a ferry, which with like very little chemistry. I'm like, why am I seeing this? This is taking away from what the film's about. I'm like, no, you idiot. Like, that's what the film's about. So that's why I want to watch it again.
All right, so let's talk about some characters. Let's have a little bit of look at the characters.
In general, the characters in this film are really, really sad people. They all are. And I guess you're living in a world where a lot of people are committing suicide.
Yeah.
But there was just this, and they did it really well with the way the film was shot with this sort of grayscale almost through the whole film.
Yep.
In a really kind of sleepy town and dreary weather. But it was just everyone was really sad.
Really set the tone well, kind of, the weather kind of and shooting really set the tone for that.
Like Will, so Jason Segel, main character, he's dejected, he's depressed, he just feels worn out and almost like he doesn't care anymore.
And Segel played that character really well.
He did, yeah.
Really believed it from him. It was really good.
I liked the whole idea of the plot device being this discovery and the afterlife, but it was also the discovery of Will. Like, it was a discovery of him as a character as well. So I really liked his character. And Isla, I thought Isla's job, or the role of her character, was to constantly keep him in check and like make sure, do you ever get out of your head? Get out of your head for a minute and let's work out what's going on.
I wasn't a big fan of Isla's character. I wanted more maybe more backstory, just more from her. I'm not sure what I want more, but yeah, I mean, compared to, I really liked Will and I really liked Toby in that, but Isla's character just left me wanting more.
She's arguably more important than Will as like the key driver of this film, because all of Will's actions are to do with Isla, and it focuses around Isla. And she's obviously super guarded, but she's empty because obviously she's lost her son, which you don't know until partway through the film, and then you really learn more and more about it as time goes on. But her nothing to lose kind of attitude compared to Will's just dejected and not even wanting to participate in anything attitude is a really nice pairing for the two of them, and they both bring out good in each other that they couldn't have done if they were any more similar, I guess.
I didn't like Toby.
I
just thought he was this dropkick brother.
How dare you?
But he could have been played by anyone, and you've got Jesse Plemons.
I thought the exact same thing.
And
I'm like,
he's
why
an
is
amazing
Jesse
actor.
Plemons
You could have
doing
had, didn't give him any room to work. Like, you could have, like, maybe that's more a casting thing rather than a character thing, but I thought his character could have been played by anyone.
It was a nothing character.
Oh yeah, I would have said a nothing character, but Jesse Plemons is such a good actor. I thought he made the character good. From what?
So what was the character to you?
The comic relief in a sad movie.
Okay.
I really enjoyed Jesse Plemons and Jason Segel's scenes together. I thought they had great dialogue, and like from the car ride, the car ride in, and a lot of the scenes at the house, I really liked that. And a lot of the time, Jesse Plemons is that dumb sort of character, even at the morgue. He's kind of a nothing character, but I thought he did a great job, and I thought he was funny. I thought he in a very sad, depressed movie, I thought he provided some great comic relief. And I just loved watching Jesse Plemons on screen.
Maybe I just didn't feel like there was a few parts throughout the film where the comedic stuff just didn't hit.
I can completely understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I absolutely can see your point of view, but I did like him. But also, I probably do have a tendency, if I like an actor, I'll like their character.
You really do.
So I really like Jesse Plemons.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed watching him on screen.
He was one of the few kind of realists in the film. So he did understand everything that was going on from all angles.
He did.
So he understood the need that their dad had to continue to experiment and why he was doing it. He also understood Will's way of being like, you got to stop doing this, you're causing a lot of damage. But he wasn't headstrong either way to do anything about it.
Yeah.
And that was, I think the Jesse Plemons factor actually threw me because he is such a good actor. I was like, nah, there's got to be more to this character, or something's going to come up where he's going to use this knowledge that he's got. Because he kept mentioning, like, I'm not as dumb as people think I am. And he said it like 3 or 4 times throughout the film. And I'm like, he's got some sort of something building up inside him that he wants to do something with it. And he never quite did. And I think, again, watching that again, probably having less of a focus on him would probably be good as well.
Maybe that morgue scene's his way of showing that, he can do something because he managed to get in there and get.
And he could, but I don't think there was any dispute that he could do things.
Yeah.
And that he was.
I think it's also like I feel like he was just so loyal to his father, he didn't want to go against his father. So even
he didn't stray from the flow.
No, he didn't. Yeah, he did what his father told him because of that loyalty.
His father, Thomas, Robert Redford. What do we think?
As a character? Are we talking about the character?
Yeah, as a character.
He was okay.
He's a sociopath, yeah? Yeah. He's basically an egomaniac.
Yeah, I mean...
all driven by the fact that he's grieving on his own guilt, basically.
Yeah, on his own guilt.
But he's so out of touch.
Yeah, I think it tried... I mean, the start tries to show him as good. Like, he's taken all these people in that had attempted suicide, but as the movie goes on, you're just like,
that first
you're
scene,
you're a bit.
So then, why does he want to shut the machine down at the end when he realizes what it can actually do?
Well, because you can't
because he saw what he wanted to see and that was it.
Well, I think it's more like he also knows like, hey, he's gone pretty far to get this. Now this is just too far.
Yeah. So doesn't that show you that instead of going after money, going after greed, going after bad things, that he's going to step back and...
So I don't think those were the things that inspired him.
His inspiration was to see his wife. Yeah, okay, I get that.
And he saw her.
He did.
And it's almost like he just got this clarity of mind because he scratched the itch that he had to scratch.
And there's still kind of like there's degrees of being, a psychopath or a bad character. Like, yes, he did this all for his own guilt, but then if that was then to overflow into, hey, this would cause, half the world to commit suicide to go back to relive their regrets, that's just too much. I'm quite selfish and a bit psycho, but I'm not that bad.
So the very first scene where the cameraman shoots himself.
Yep.
And Robert Redford does this flawlessly.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. Like, it's that to me, that's the scene where you're just like, oh my God, what have I done? He's just kind of looking at him just like, why would you do that sort of thing?
I guess it's also...
He does it really well.
It's very common in the world they live in now, suicide.
Yeah, I guess.
But I thought the camera stayed on his face to show that the emotion... Like, it wasn't emotional, but it was like, he's like, oh... Like, he didn't like...
I thought he was surprised.
But he was kind of like, oh, as he said. Like, he was like, oh, that happened.
Yeah, because... I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. I didn't think that he was a horrible person.
I don't think he was a bad person. But he was basically a cult leader.
And that's what Will says. Like, in some of the movie, he tells Toby that Dad is running a cult.
What does he do with... What's her name? Lacey. Lacey, when he embarrasses her in front of everyone and boots her out for no real reason.
It's in one of my bad scenes.
That's why this guy he's like this, like a mad scientist. Like you're seeing him progress into it more and more.
He's just got the big ego that,
I don't think he's a bad guy and was always a bad guy.
Yep.
I think that the guilt that he has with the way his wife died.
Correct, yeah.
And the blame he's taken from that has had a real heavy burden on him, and that's why he's where he is.
And do you think he wants to give other people the opportunity to fix their wrongs that they've had as well? Or is it just
does he
self-centered?
entirely know that that's where the afterlife takes you? I think because initially he just proved the idea of the afterlife.
Correct.
Yeah, but then kind of towards the end, I think that they realise that when you die, you go back to that regret.
So, but during the film is the very first time we see any sort of video of what the person sees when they die. Correct.
But wasn't that because they changed the understanding of what the actual thing was? Because at the start, it was just the afterlife. So he thought people kill themselves, they go to an afterlife. Whereas
he was basically saying there is an afterlife.
Correct,
yes, and that's all he was saying.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
So he wasn't driven by the fact that they can see loved ones.
It wasn't until Will saw that video was the first time that it's like, I think he was still trying to work out where this afterlife was and what this afterlife was.
Knew it existed.
But he knew there was an afterlife. He didn't know anything about this afterlife. So he wanted to know what it was about. It wasn't until Will sees the video of that guy that's about Pat that it's like, okay, this is now what we understand about where you go in this afterlife.
I actually enjoyed the mystery part of it because this almost came to like a mystery sort of film when they were like trying to figure out. What are we watching here? What is this?
Yeah.
Do you want to go into scenes?
Have we everyone done the characters?
I really liked the character of Cooper. He had some really funny lines talking to Will.
Ron Canberra.
Yes, Ron Canada, yes. A few times when he's talking to his recorder out loud kind of about Will, and he was right there. There's some good funny scenes. I thought, again, he was a good light-hearted character to kind of fill in the mix.
Cool. All right, so scenes. Standout scenes. Give us some that you really liked, Peter.
The opening scene for me was fantastic. I think for many reasons. I mean, one, you've got Robert Redford, the big star. He's in that big opening scene. I really in general, I really liked the interview that they had. I thought it was really interesting. And also just in terms of a general movie, straight away, you learn exactly what is happening in the world of this movie. They tell you, there is an afterlife. People are committing suicide. So you're 2 minutes in, I've seen the big star, and I know exactly what is going on in the world of this movie. And then the guy shoots himself, and you're like, wow, this is intense. I am fully in. So yeah, that opening scene really got me in.
Yeah, I had that too, because it explained like the plot device of the afterlife, and you see the guy shoot himself. It literally told you everything you need to know about the premise for the film.
And straight away, you knew what was going on.
The concept is just so interesting on its own.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
All right, what else? Keep going.
I've got a page of
this. Go for it.
I liked when Will meets Isla on the ferry. It starts off pretty funny when he offers her the vertigo pills, and she was like, what, you think I'm just going to take pills from some stranger? And then takes them. But then I really like the more in-depth discussion of them both telling each other if they believe in the discovery and what they believe about the discovery. I thought that was really interesting.
And at that point, you obviously don't know that Will is...
exactly, you don't, yeah. So, yeah, that was really interesting.
You know what? This, at the time, I've told you how it took me a while to get into this film. That's the only scene that I had that I didn't like in the film, because there was complete lack of chemistry between Segel and Mooney on the boat. But after watching the end, I know why. It's
You know
like
why
the way
it's
it is.
there, yeah.
So I shouldn't even say it, but at the time, watching that for the first time, I was like, ugh, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, because it wasn't great chemistry. In my bad things, I talk about that, but it wasn't great chemistry. But I still loved what they were talking about.
Yeah.
The one part in that scene that I really liked was there was that clock counter in the background, the suicide
counter everywhere.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I've liked that, and then I thought, okay, if I go back and watch again, I want to check the counts on each of them.
I thought the exact same thing.
To work out
how much it's gone up.
Yeah, and where they are in the timeline of what's going on and what's
I didn't think of that.
Because it was in the morgue. It was in the morgue. It was on the wall in the morgue. It was on the wall. It was there multiple times throughout the film. So when I go back and watch, I want to check out and count and work out. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the story that we watch in this film is one story though, because I know they go back when he meets her again at the end when he dies.
Yep. And
she's like, "Oh, you've done this before and before and before." I don't think that there is.
Oh yeah, I agree.
There's no interlapping timelines.
The first hour and a half is all one story.
It's all one story.
I believe. Yes.
Really?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because remember she's like, the first time he didn't even get off the boat, the second time this, third time this.
Yeah.
I think that was just one story that got him the closest.
I agree with
And that was the only story that got him to being able to use that machine that his dad had created to send him back there. And that's the only reason that he could communicate with her the way he did, because he was half dead.
Yep.
And he was basically just like, hang on, what's going on here? I know you. But every other time when you actually die, he doesn't know her.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's a good point. I want to see it anyway, just to see.
Yeah, just to see.
But
keep going.
That's what I think. I could be wrong.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Do you want to keep going?
Yeah, keep going.
So the first scene when Toby, you see Jesse Plemons for the first time, he picks up Will and they're driving back to the house. I really like that conversation, and especially just after seeing what MJ said, the chemistry, which I don't think was great between Jason Segel and Rooney Mara, and then I really like the chemistry in that car between Jason Segel and Jesse Plemons. So I really like that scene of them driving to the car.
I liked
driving to the house.
I liked the lead up to that as well, where they're waiting in that car park for the cars. It just showed you that isolation of where they are.
Dead.
It was really good. Yeah.
So when Thomas gives the questionnaire, the interview to Isla, some really interesting questions he asks and some really interesting answers that Isla gives. I really enjoyed that scene, especially things like how she's saying after a loss she hated like her coffee table and her fridge and things like that. I was really intrigued by that. What of her answers?
What did he use the questions for? Like, apart from deciding whether he thought they could stay?
Yeah, I guess that's more feeding to his ego. He learns about this person. He decides where they can stay. I don't see how those questions really can relate to.
Like, what was the machine that
like these people?
From our audience perspective, I reckon it's just a way to learn. That was
to learn more about it. Yeah,
but there was
which I did and was good
because you allude to the fact that she's lost someone.
Yeah,
and I think when you're first watching that, you assume it's a boyfriend,
and you already know like she's a bit different. She's a bit strange. Yeah,
because they're hooked up to a machine. Yeah, it's a question machine. Wasn't
she
it?
is. Yes,
because that's the machine in the credit scene where he's playing the guitar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Same. Okay.
Keep going. Yeah.
I'm going in chronological order, I think. So the next one was the stealing the corpse scene. Was very funny. I thought
that was pretty funny.
From Will and Isla, they're picking out the corpse to Toby describing his missing friend to the workers. Like, hey, we haven't even got to the bottom half of his body yet. I enjoyed that whole sequence again because it was quite a serious film, and then you got a bit of lighthearted there to break it up. I really enjoyed that scene as well.
You didn't like it. That was one part that got to me. So they're in the car on the way, and that's where Toby and Isla are talking about. She's trying to find out more about how their mum died.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, when they're driving, I'm like, all right, the two of them are just going. And then they rock up to the morgue, and then all of a sudden, he's there as well.
Yeah, that's right.
I was like,
who?
Will was there as well to help him.
He was in the back.
Yeah, I get that on the way when they're on the way back. Sorry, on the way there, I'm like, I just thought it was those two. Because he wasn't there, and they got there, and as soon as Will's here to help. I'm like, hang on, how did he get there? And that just sort of...
Did he drive separately?
I'm pretty sure
you assume that he's in the ute because on the way back he's in the ute with...
I'm pretty sure they show him in the back of the ute.
Okay.
On the way there. Yeah, it's only about half a second. Like, they show him back of the ute kind of looking kind of sad, and then it goes to Jesse Plemons pulling out his earbud and going, oh, sorry, am I being rude? But I'm pretty sure they show you Will in the back of the ute.
I just thought it was a nice isolated scene between the two of them.
was-
Could
could
have
have
been
been
good,
good,
there,
yeah.
and I was like, hang
Yeah,
on,
it was
could have been
good.
rocks up.
Because he's the one that said, like, I heard about your mum dying. Oh yeah, she committed suicide. He's like, whoa, because you didn't know that.
Yeah,
you just knew she was dead.
Yeah, exactly.
And this was the one stage of the movie where I don't know why or what it was, and I was going, I remember the poster for this film, and the poster had the character of Will with the machine hooked to his head.
Yeah.
So from that stage onwards, I'm like, I know he's going to go under that machine at some stage, and that I don't know if that's why that scene's got.
It wasn't a good poster.
No, when you think about it,
because that was like right at the
Right at
end,
the
and
end,
it's
yeah.
like because again, I thought I saw that.
that was
and,
that. I don't know why it was that.
And
scene.
during the movie,
Yeah.
it's like, at what point does he put those things on, or was that for the poster? Maybe, but looking back,
because I saw the poster when I clicked on it or something. I've seen the poster.
yeah.
But I didn't put two and two together that
Yeah.
he would necessarily go under there. I think it's just
Yeah.
showing this is our star, this is our
Yeah.
big equipment.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I
Yeah.
don't know. That was just in my head. I was
But
like,
it's a risky
That was
thing.
like one
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. Sorry. Keep going here.
The first scene in the bunk beds with Will and Isla, I thought was fantastic, where Will is telling the story of how his mum committed suicide. It's really emotional, and in fact, just their whole conversation in that bunk bed is a really good emotional scene. I really
I like the holding
I really
hand
like it.
scene. That was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a lot better for you. Than
Because his arms are like up.
I agree with you, man. That was the first
great
time
scene.
that the real philosophical conversations came in that I really loved.
Yeah.
Where they're talking about life and taking someone's spot and with the suicide and the animals' afterlife, and
Yeah.
that's when you
Asking about
realise
animals.
that they actually
Yeah.
have a lot more in common than they first thought.
Yeah.
I think because he said everything familiar suddenly seemed unrecognisable, and that goes back to when she said that about
Yeah,
the
she doesn't like the coffee table and stuff like that. Yeah.
But it also just highlighted the fact that they're just really sad people.
Yeah.
But I like that they sort of had each other at that point. That was a turning point. I agree with you there.
Yeah. When Will first watches that video of Pat.
Good, now you're in my order.
So that's when I kind of went, oh, holy shit, what's happening here?
Yeah.
This movie has now turned. I'm really excited. I was already liking this movie. Now we've seen this. Oh, where are we going now? I'm really excited.
that left me wanting more.
Yeah.
I needed to see more.
Yeah. And then the returning of Pat's corpse was a very funny scene.
So I didn't.
Up until they make out in the car.
Yeah,
Which I didn't like.
I knew you wouldn't like that, Jesse.
No, because I got the relationship that was building. Like I got that there was going to be some.
I thought
some
at
scene
that
somewhere.
point it was a bit forced.
This wasn't.
I didn't think they were.
That was meant to be
at that stage.
That was
yet.
meant to be funny. That scene.
Yeah.
It was meant to be funny with them sitting in the car making the call in. It did not land.
So
at all.
I thought it was funny. Even before that, where she's like, "Oh, do I just leave it here?"
Yeah.
It's like, it's hard to like, something
my
like maybe
first time returning a
it's
corpse.
hard to believe this is the first time I've returned a corpse. Like I found that funny. I enjoyed that.
I don't know. Maybe it's because it's a dead body, but it just didn't.
Maybe,
land. And compared to the
I
rest,
find dead body's funny. I don't
maybe
know.
if you're thinking like scary movie or something where every joke is about
yeah,
stupid stuff.
Yeah.
The way this film was going to have like a line like that, and I was like,
yeah,
no.
no,
I thought it was
fair enough.
fine. I thought
Yeah.
it was fine, and it was light and true to character enough. But I agree. Like the kiss felt a bit forced.
It felt forced to me. I didn't like
But
it.
to me, I was also like, let's not hide behind the fact that this film is about the relationship between these two people, and
It had to happen. At
it
some
wasn't
stage.
like a romance for the sake of a romance to that point.
Yeah.
So I was okay with it.
Yeah, it had to there had to be some sort of physical connection between the two at some stage because we've already seen the hands holding like we spoke about before.
Yeah.
So then it needed to happen, but I don't know whether that was the right moment.
Well, they
to do
shacked up right afterwards, didn't they?
Yeah.
Oh, well, they got cut in by Toby walks
By
in.
Jesse. What are you doing?
Yeah.
My next one was when Will and Isla visit Pat's sister, and then they're asking about her, and then again what we talk about when we're seeing the video again, it steps up so much for me when she tells them that Pat never visited the father, and I was like, oh, but we saw that on the video. Okay, what is going on now? Where is this going? So again, I think that thing gave me chills. Like I was like, oh, I'm excited as to what's happened here because I thought again that just steps it up and we're going, all right, we're going in a new direction here.
I think I picked that like as it was happening.
Yeah?
I was like, okay, so it's clearly like what you wanted to
Altered
do.
something,
Yeah. Wish I got chills for that.
Keep going. Come on, Heater.
It was also
enjoying
cold.
this.
It might have been just cold.
I'm enjoying this.
So I've only got two left, but they're at the very end. So if any of you guys want to jump in, but
You just
go. Okay, well, the end reveal when Will goes back on the ferry, and you see him back on the ferry, and you're like, okay. And then you're like, yeah, you're learning he's in a time loop. He's trying to save Isla. Loved it.
I thought the editing there that was really good with the quick, short little cuts of showing the things that you meant to
Really
have connected
good.
with.
Yeah.
I thought, you saw that conversation familiar, and then the pills, and then the bunk bed, and the beach. Like that was, I thought that was really well done.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. This film for me, I got to a point where I'm like,
I need to watch it
I'm
again.
really enjoying this film. No, this is a good film. I'm really enjoying this film. And then that happened, and I'm like, oh, this is like a really good film. And then like the last scene, which you're probably going to get to, Heater, if you're going in chronological.
I know.
There's not much left.
No, you go.
But even that, when it gets to that scene, I'm like, this is a really good film. Like, because I was enjoying it on one level, and I'm like, that's one of those films. I love the dialogue. I love any sort of like philosophical conversations in film that make sense and I find relatable. So tick, 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 you're doing a really good job. And then that sort of twist came. I was like, bang, like this film's legit good. And then that one more scene, I'm like, don't ruin the ending, don't ruin the ending. And they didn't ruin the ending for me. They didn't make it too cheesy.
You liked it?
Him going to the beach.
Yeah. I was just, when I was watching it, a little bit confused onto the ferry as why Isla knew he was in a dream or how she could tell him, you've been this before, this is a memory, like why she was able to do that.
Okay. What does she say? She's a formation of his
subconscious or something. Yeah, because it's not like he's died and it's doing this again. He's kind of half dead.
That's the only reason.
Yeah, and so she's like, it's not like a new life that's happening. It's just like, hey, yeah. I was a bit confused by that and a bit like, does this make sense to do this? I think it kind of does in the end, but like I love the reveal and how it all happened. But I was a bit sus on just kind of her being able to speak to him on that level.
Okay. I was more talking about the scene where he dies and then he goes back to saving her son.
Yeah, okay,
That's where I was like, this is a nice, clean finish. His purpose is to make her happy. And in that strand of his life, he doesn't spend it with her. But that's okay because he's making her happy.
When he turns around, does he go back after her? Does he?
Maybe. But it doesn't matter. I was worried it was going to be a real cheesy, bad, weird ending, and I think they did it really, really well.
Yeah.
I didn't write that in my scenes, but I was just kind of got lost.
No, it was good, yeah. I could have done with him not even turning around and just walking off.
Yeah. But he barely turned around. Like, he was kind of like
he kind of turns around and is like, I kind of know you, but also could have been cool. It's just like, he just goes...
But it goes to that point where every other strand he's been like, you look familiar.
Yeah.
So that wasn't weird or a stretch.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I have some questions about that at the end. I might say.
I'll say my last one is also the end credits song was really fitting and really good. It was an Alt J song, and I thought it just fitted so well. As soon as the end credits popped up, that song played, and I went, you know what? That's a really great fitting end.
Right.
That's all for me. Sorry, boys.
I like
there was a lot of those in there.
Sound like me when I'm talking about Mercy or something. I like. So there was when Toby picks Will up in the car and he talks about his dad being like the Wizard of Oz sort of thing. And I really liked that straight away when they get to that thing, they have that meeting at that night, and his dad Thomas has this wall that he's talking to this crowd and he just goes behind the wall. It's like it was exactly like the Wizard of Oz, and I was like, that was really clever. It was a nice little thing. He's like this.
That's right.
I was like, this is really, really good because it's like he's talking to the group. Like, he's this guy that no one knows actually who he actually is or what he actually can do, because at that stage no one knew what he's working on behind this door.
You don't know. He does.
So I thought I really liked
nice
that.
One.
I thought that was cool. I liked throughout the film those little flashes that you got where you could see these bits of one of these timelines. You had like he grabbed his head and there'd be these like little cuts of like him seeing the water, and throughout, and I'm like, oh, this is him having memories of when he was a kid because he had that thing, and then obviously when you get towards the end, you like work out a bit more. So I liked that slow.
He says that from the very start. He's like, I had an experience where I saw a boy on the beach. He's like, I don't know who it was. It could have been me. It could have been anything. And then you find out the end. The memory is him saving.
But he had maybe I'll talk about it now.
That becomes a bit of a head.
But yeah, because he was 5 years old. No, her kid was 5 years old. He was a kid when he had that accident.
No, he was 5.
He was 5. Okay.
Yeah.
He was 5. Okay, so if he was 5 years old and he had that thing where he had the accident, near-death experience, and in that thing he saw the beach and he saw whatever it was that he saw. I don't know.
Yeah, it's confusing.
I was thinking the whole time. I'm like, is her kid actually him?
Yeah, like, was he going back to save himself?
Yeah, that was me at the start. I was like, is he actually her kid that was... And then he saves himself at the end.
Oh, geez, I like that.
Ooh.
That was like towards the end. That's the thing. I sat there and I go, okay, I'm so confused, because he was talking about his water experience. He'd go back to the water and sit at the beach when he was a kid to look at it, because this is where the accident happened.
Yeah.
And that's the same place where he had the kid. And then I was like, oh... is he the kid that is her kid that he saved? I don't know.
That's just a bit of a head spin, isn't it?
I don't know. That's probably completely wrong, but that was just
I think it's plausible.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's a stretch regardless.
The whole thing's a stretch.
The whole thing's a stretch.
Because otherwise, if that's not the case, they didn't explain his near-death experience when he was a kid. Because he couldn't have, if he was a kid and he hadn't died yet, and he had that near-death experience, why is he thinking about her kid?
Why is he thinking about that memory? Where he would go back to.
Yeah.
Because unless he died when he was a kid.
I guess all the things like, why did he go back to that point?
It's a strand of his... Well, he went back to that point at the end because he wanted to make Isla happy, so she never lost her kid. But is that because he's seeing that in that strand of reality?
Yeah, because don't you always go back to your biggest regret? So if he's saved her and he dies, like he doesn't know her at that point. Like how does
exactly.
That's
because they keep saying the loop goes back to the boat. He goes back to the boat. So for him to go back to that scene where he saves her kid means he goes prior to the boat.
He doesn't before he's met her. So how does he know about that?
So if he goes back and saves a kid, he never would have met her.
Yeah. Why is that a regret from him to have not saved her kid when he hasn't even met her yet?
Yes, because he wouldn't have met her.
But I guess
it confused me a bit.
It's almost like a second
because they're
strand.
old. That's a different. It's like
so he's gone back to the boat. He's gone back to the boat
multiple times though.
But by the end, he's gone back to the boat and met her, and then found out this is you keep doing this right. Hang on, I've got it clear in my head now. So he keeps going back to the boat every time, and then the time that he actually goes back and gets to, and she explains to him, you keep going back to this point. He understands. Okay, I keep going back to this point and getting nowhere with it. So when he dies that time, he goes back even further in time. So his main goal is to make her happy and keep her happy. So rather than going back to the point of him physically keeping her safe and happy, he goes back even further so she doesn't get depressed for losing her son. And then it kind of clears it all from there.
Okay.
Because he's going back in time with the knowledge of that boat experience that it doesn't work that way. He knows that, so then he dies then, and he goes back even further.
So the experience that we're watching isn't the first time he gets on the boat, because obviously she kills herself in the water, and he goes back to save her and prevent her from doing that. So that makes 100% sense.
Yeah, it still doesn't explain.
It doesn't explain when he had the kid when he's a kid.
Yeah. You're right. It doesn't. Yeah. Just one of those movie things. I agree. Now there's more to it. I want to unpack that.
Unless he goes all the way back to when he was a kid. And then lives his whole life because he goes back. I don't know. Anyway, we need to move on. Good discussion, but it gives you heaps to think about.
Yeah.
I liked the shooting of Isla at the end because I thought through that editing that it was Toby.
I said this is a great example of a bait and switch.
Yep.
Really? I thought the exact same thing.
Because you've seen that scene with Toby Pryor, and then you come out and the camera goes straight on Toby.
Exactly right. And you see Toby go around the back and just sort of nick off on his own.
Yeah, and then the camera's just on him by him. You hear the gunshot, and the camera's on him straight away, like, oh, he's killed her. And then you see Lacey. It was the one that didn't. I really liked that. I thought that was really well done, really clever.
So, but when Lacey's name is called, I thought Lacey, and she's holding the gun, I thought she'd killed Thomas. That's the thing, like, I was the last person I expected. So it was just like this bait and switch. It's like, oh no, it's not Toby. Oh my god, it's Thomas. Oh, it's not Thomas. I'm like, who the hell did she shoot?
Yeah, I thought it was a shock. I wrote shock.
Yeah, that was a really clever scene. Because you're right, the scene before that, Toby's all like,
revved up. Yeah.
And then he walks specifically around the back.
And then I really liked the scene at the end where he saves the kid out of the water.
Yeah. The only scene that I had that you guys didn't have, and I had about 8, so well done.
Yeah, I had, yeah.
But I liked that, and I liked this prior to knowing that Lacey shot Isla. I liked the discussion that Lacey and Cooper were having about murder. Because they were talking... Because I was thinking this the whole time. Like, if you know that someone...
is in pain or...
Or no, if you know that there's an afterlife, and if you kill someone, they're not going to a bad place... People are just going to start killing people. Like, they're just going to do it. Like, you're annoying me in this life.
Yeah.
Bang.
Go have
it's not that big a deal. You're going somewhere good.
Yeah,
so
true.
I was thinking that as well the whole time. And then obviously at the end, Lacey shoots her and talks about relocating.
Yeah, it didn't kill her. She relocated her. Yeah.
So, but it was really good they set that up at the start. I wasn't even expecting it to come back.
And that sort of showed, and sort of almost goes back to that cult thing. That's how indoctrinated Lacey was with this whole idea.
Yeah.
Because she's killed someone and doesn't feel the repercussions of killing someone because
Exactly, and I can understand that. They set that up well enough to make that like a plausible thing.
All right, let's talk about some things we didn't like. Heater, kick us off because you've been dominating this.
I didn't like Will and Iwa's romantic attraction. I think it felt forced. So obviously, at the end, Joanne kind of was all about him trying to save her. But all throughout the movie, I didn't think that there was enough there for me to believe that they were attracted to each other.
That's like the core of the movie, though. If you don't like that, how do you like the movie?
You're not talking about on an emotional level, though. Because they did a great job at doing it.
Oh, they did. Talking about, I mean, maybe it was more focused on that kiss in the car and stuff. I just didn't feel like it fitted for those two there. I wanted more from them. Like
this film is their relationship.
Yeah, I know.
He doesn't go back to do any of this if that's not there. So.
Yeah, I know, but that's why I wanted more for it. I just felt like it was maybe that they rushed over it too much. I wanted more of them together,
like actual scenes on the screen.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
What about, like, he drives her to the thing and they sit in the car on the lookout and takes her to all the meetings with the dad. They do the morgue thing together. They do heaps together.
That's the reason this film is good.
See, I thought it was good for the other reasons.
What reasons?
Oh, just all the other stuff just about Will and the afterlife and Thomas and all that. Like, yeah, they're kind of the other one wasn't a big one for me in liking this.
So do you reckon if they recast her as someone better, that the same scenes would have worked as well, or not really?
Possibly.
I thought Rooney Mara was pretty good, yeah. No, don't know.
No, I
just didn't sit right.
It just... maybe it was Jason Segel and Rooney Mara together.
That's what I thought you were saying.
Yeah, so that very much well could be... It was something about those two just didn't fully work.
So that emotional connection was so strong that you could look past it.
Yeah.
All right, what else?
I think Eminem might have mentioned it before, the scene where Thomas calls out Lacey in front of everyone and kind of like tells her, why'd you tell all these people about this machine that wasn't working? And then he throws her out. Like, it could have been done in private, not humiliate her in front of everyone.
That was an important scene for his character, though.
Yeah.
He's the wizard. Yeah. He should do it in front of everyone.
I didn't like him calling her out like that or in public and like, mate,
it wasn't a nice thing to do.
Let's privately do that. The only other one for me then was so when Will and Toby watch their father's regret when he sees his wife and he kind of tells her now come back down and prevents that suicide. So obviously like it's a really good scene and like kind of the effect of the visual is kind of because of what they're seeing, but the video was shaking so much my eyes started hurting watching it. It was just shaking so much. I'm sitting there going, oh my god, this is really hurting my eyes. Please stop. So it was a great scene in terms of the message what was showing it, but just don't shake it as much. My eyes are killing me watching that.
All right.
I didn't have anything.
Yeah, I didn't like the imagery of the cult sort of stuff. I didn't like the coloured tracksuits.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I just thought you don't really need to like try and
why did they do that?
Because
if you want to be in, you're in.
Yeah, it wasn't like and they had like scenes of them meditating. There's one scene where Will walks past and they're like sitting there praying and stuff.
Well, Isla and Will didn't wear outfits either. And I reckon
Isla did.
Isla did at one point. Yeah, Will refused to.
What was she wearing? What colour?
Blue. Because she asked that question, what's this letter mean on my...
she was definitely wearing something.
Yeah, you're right.
So, she did. But yeah, I don't know. I just didn't add to the plot of the story. It was like, like you said, if you're there to be a part and help
Especially
out.
because they were different colours as well.
Yeah.
Like maybe if all the workers there were wearing one colour jumpsuit, it's like, hey, these guys are the workers.
Yeah, like it didn't say,
they're all wearing different ones. Yeah, it's like, what did they mean?
Yeah.
But you notice with that scene where Thomas kicked out Lacey, they were sitting in the rows of their colours.
Oh, well, I didn't notice that, no.
Yeah, I don't know. If you're gonna include something that's that visual and that stands out that much, it needs a bit more explanation rather than just saying
we probably missed it.
It's a cult. I need to watch it.
I think we missed it.
And
I'm giving this director credit.
I also didn't like the scene where they're trying to work out who this Pat Phillips guy is, and they worked out the car models are prior to this and that, and then they're just in this big records room, and it's just like, so because of this, it leaves me one person, bang, and like.
They worked it out pretty quickly, didn't they? They worked it out pretty quickly.
Very convenient.
Yeah, but you needed convenience in that part of the story. Like, I enjoyed the mystery side of it. I really did. It started to me to feel a little bit like the Ghost Rider, mainly because of like the same sort of dreary vibe and trying to solve a story.
Pierce Brosnan?
Pierce Brosnan and Ewan McGregor.
Yep.
It's a good movie. Yeah. But like that part of the story, I didn't want them to spend too much time cutting it down to like 6 different people and having to check them all out. Like, I was fine with that.
All right, so what were some of the themes in this?
Well, my big one was love.
I did not have that down.
It's
But I totally agree.
It's the driving emotion behind life. It's arguably the deepest emotion that we feel, and the fact that they go into this film and explore it is really cool. But it's the only emotion that gives these characters any kind of drive and direction. I think Will was really just existing before he met Isla. Isla wanted to end her life before she sort of met Will. People are going back to that one moment in their life that they wanted to change, and it's always righting a wrong with a loved one. And just this whole film is all about love.
I like that lead onto that bit as well. It's like making things right as well, overcoming regret. But I really like that love.
Yeah.
I didn't even think.
That's why when you said I didn't like their relationship, I'm like, this film is about love.
It was obviously talking about the afterlife and this theme of does the afterlife exist?
Suicide and getting there and being better off if you have different places.
Having that second chance or third chance or fourth chance. Just,
keep going. Like your regrets and things like that.
They touched on it a little bit, like this idea of like proof and needing to be definitive. They kept talking about this.
Great lines.
Yeah, you need to. Like, if I want to believe in this, and that leads on a little bit to about like faith and stuff, because Thomas clearly says, I don't believe in faith, so you need this evidence to be down packed.
Bit of on a kind of responsibility too. Like, was Thomas responsible for all these people committing suicide?
Yeah, and who has the right to change people's lives? Like, so the discovery changed that Will stops Isla from drowning. Like, who has this moral compass to decide who can do what?
Yeah.
So another theme for that is helping others, and I think the ending is all about it because it uses Will as a vehicle to highlight how important that is. But the big sense of satisfaction he has on the beach is the culmination of a number of loops or tangents that he's been on, basically to get to that point. And I love that culminated with his initial story about seeing the boy on the beach and his own near-death experience. But all of this is to help someone else. It's got nothing to do with him and righting a wrong in his life. He just wants to make someone else happy.
I agree. And I almost say that in Thomas a little bit too, because he says something at the end of the line when the chick's got the gun, and he says something about, the importance of family, and talks about the importance of family, and we've seen the scene prior, he unfolds that photo with the mum and that sort of stuff, so that leads in as well that, like, Thomas is finally acknowledging that he needs to do stuff for other people as well, rather than
his mum, the wife dying as well, it's affected his kids, and it's probably been the reason why Will's left and all that kind of stuff.
And there was like another one of those great lines. It was like searching for meaning, not creating it, and lying to ourselves. It's like, even though Will was creating this whole everything he was doing.
Watch this again. It's always great.
Reality and fantasy are mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, are we ready to talk about what we took away from this film? I think so.
I thought it was really well paced. So, hour 42, probably one of the longer ones. I feel like we do kind of around that 90-minute mark. I thought, I watched it twice. It kind of flew through it both times. I didn't really think there was too many down points where I was kind of like, oh, what's going on here? Let's move back to other things. I thought it was a really well paced film.
It's a big wrap. This is like the modern day Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
And that the scene on the train, I was like, on the boat, I was like, oh, this is massive, like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Yeah, I just couldn't shake that the whole time I was watching it, and that's a phenomenal movie.
Yeah, but yeah, literally you feel that on the boat, like
you do,
you feel that,
and even just those like, and not that Eternal Sunshine is about realities or different realities, but it's about it's kind of like that. I just couldn't. It was so similar in so many ways. And it was great in so many ways as well.
Similar to what Heath was saying with the pace, like I thought the transitions throughout were really good. The fades, like there were lots of fades to black or fades to that bright white, and I thought that really paced the film really well as well. And I think this would have been good at the cinemas.
It's been awesome at the cinemas.
I would have paid to see this at the movies.
Yeah, would like to see some movies.
I reckon I would have given an extra half star. Like sometimes you just enjoy things differently and enjoy them more than you sit at home. Yeah. I think anyway.
All right, so IMDb. We look at IMDb. If we look up anyone, who did we look up in this to see if we knew anyone?
I looked up Ron Canada, who played Cooper.
Oh, yeah?
Couldn't understand why. And he's the judge in Ted 2. And I think that's what I remember him from. He's also in Wedding Crashers, but I don't know, he's just familiar.
Yeah. I didn't jump on.
No, I didn't at all. I didn't go on. All right, questions. Have we got any questions? We've looked at a few of these already, I guess.
Well, I guess I didn't really have a question, but now I do. Is to we all really like this movie. Why didn't critics like it? What do we think? Why didn't? I mean, what do we say on Rotten Tomatoes? 45%.
To be honest, I didn't read any reviews. I'd like to read a few of them and find out what they didn't like.
Yeah, I'm not sure why critics just didn't like this film.
It's a good point. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, yeah.
The post-credit scene, I want to talk about it. So you got this post-credit scene where Toby's got his guitar.
I was working so hard. I'm like, all right, what are you trying to tell me?
Okay, so he's got the guitar. The machine behind him is that one that they hook up for the questionnaire, and the room's empty. There's no one in that room. So does that mean that Thomas has changed enough in his life to go back and this is a different thread where there's no need for anyone to be working there because he's able to convince all these people that there's no need to try and attempt suicide, because the only reason they were there was because they attempted suicide to be in his thing. So if that room is now empty, there's no one working there. So if no one's there, that means Thomas hasn't had to save anyone because he's no longer promoted this idea.
It's better than any theory that I could have come up with.
I thought it was just playing guitar.
Maybe I've overthought
But he strums it and that's it, isn't it? He barely plays it.
Yeah.
I like that idea. They wouldn't put it in there for no reason.
There's got to be a reason why it's
I guess the fact that it was empty, it would have been almost good if they'd had chairs packed up on each other or something like that to make it clear that no one was going to be there. Or
I just don't understand why that scene.
That fits in really nicely. It's like a real happy ending kind of vibe.
Do animals have an afterlife?
Why wouldn't they? That's the thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it you have to perform on some sort of cerebral level to...
Yeah. If you haven't seen this film, you wouldn't understand that. So you need to watch this film if you haven't.
What was the appeal, and we kind of talked about this, what was the appeal of suicide initially? Why do people where do people think they're going when they were doing it initially?
Someone better, they get to...
I guess it's because people wouldn't be happy with their own lives. They figure that I'm not sure what it is, but it's got to be better than this kind of thing.
So I guess the reason that people would probably take their lives nowadays is because they think that on an extreme level. So you're saying even if you don't even get to that extreme point, it's kind of hard.
I guess people who are even considering it, if they know there is something else, because
there's less reason.
It's kind of like, I was kind of thinking about it. Now that I know there's something more, why not do it? I'm not happy here. Why not do it and see? Yeah.
I just remember thinking we still don't know where you're going.
I mean, we talk about there's a lot of people that suffer from mental illnesses and things like that. So I think in this world, those people that suffer from it that aren't at that point yet will still go, hey, this could be a good way to get out of it.
People that don't pull themselves up. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It could be something better. And if you're not happy, I'm going to take that chance.
That's a good response. Yeah.
So you were supposed to hate Thomas, like we spoke about before. You weren't supposed to like him.
Not hate him, but...
I don't think hate him.
He was...
Yeah.
He wasn't a great character, I don't think.
So
wasn't a great person. Great person, probably.
Why did he decide... If he wasn't a great person, why did he decide to go and do all this by himself, isolated? To protect... Doesn't that show you that somewhere inside him he wants to protect the world from what he's trying to describe?
I think he's a bit of an egomaniac.
If he was an egomaniac, why wouldn't he be on the news doing these interviews all the time?
Maybe because his ultimate motivation was because of his guilt behind his wife's suicide, and maybe he didn't want people to know that was his motivation. They didn't want him to know that he's doing all this because he caused his wife to kill himself. He wanted to be I'm a scientist. I'm trying to just do this big discovery, and so no one can know my hidden meaning of really I'm broken because I'm the reason my wife killed herself.
So why do that interview in the first place, and why share your discovery of the afterlife with anyone if you're just doing it for yourself?
It's almost a combination of both, but I don't think you can discount the fact that he's just smart enough to do it on his own. So he didn't need the help. So he could work in those conditions better.
Okay, I've got another question.
Yeah.
So there's a scene where Will takes her to the beach, and they sit in the car and he says, this is where I used to be as a kid. So that sort of makes reference to they grew up there when they were kids.
Yeah.
I believe
definitely.
So why do they make such a big deal about no phones, no connection because the FBI are after us when they get there? Surely the FBI would be like, oh, they lived on this island when they were kids.
On the island, but they obviously had only recently moved to that complex. But
if they grew up there and that's where they were kids, surely that'd be one of the first.
Good point. They probably could have been found a bit easier.
Yeah,
that annoyed me.
There's no real reason to arrest him though.
I'm not sure.
Exactly.
Why would the FBI be after them?
Because they hadn't been found in a while, and they'll probably just want to check up on him. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. That was just one line.
Really. Yeah.
All right. Is there anyone got anything else I want to ask?
No, I don't.
All right. Let's wrap this up. We always give our films a rating out of 5, and then give an average. Heater, kick us off.
No worries, mate. So yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. It had me in from the start, and I thought it was paced really well, and I was engaged the whole way through. The story was really interesting, and I liked a lot of the characters. It was a good, solid movie. I give it 3.5 out of 5.
Good. MJ?
Yeah, from my perspective, as I said, I really need to watch this again. I started off on the wrong path, and when I finally got going with what the film was trying to tell me, I gained traction really quickly. An interesting concept, but overshadowed by fascinating characters and the depths of emotions looking to find meaning in what is basically a dystopian world. I loved it, and I'd probably love it even more if I watched it again. 4 stars.
All right, so I'm the same. Thoroughly enjoyed the film. I didn't want it to stop. I was hooked. Thought the twist played out really well. And although there are a couple of things that sort of confused me, maybe it's just I need to watch it again, and that's what I've said here. I highly recommend it, and I do want to watch it again. So I'm giving it a 4 out of 5 as well.
I could definitely see myself giving this a 4.5 if I watched it again.
Watch it again.
I really could. This was great.
All right, what does that give us as an average?
Give us a 3.83 out of 5.
Pretty high.
Good
Very
score.
high.
Very good score.
Puts us up there very high on our list of averages.
That'd be
Definitely.
top 2, top 3.
Yeah,
Definitely.
All right, so we have social media. We have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are at Flix Forum. We post on there with our question of the week. This week, the question is, should Thomas feel responsible for all the deaths?
Ooh, good question.
Should he? I don't know. I don't think he would, but should he?
You'd have to be a big man not to.
Yeah,
You shouldn't. I don't think you should feel responsible for all of them. I don't think you should. But it'd be hard not to.
Yeah.
So if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. It means heaps to us. 5-star rating if you can. Next week on our show, we're looking at the 2017 comedy Win It All. It's directed by Joe Swanberg. It stars Jake Johnson, Aslan Derbez, Joe Lo Truglio, Keegan-Michael Key, and Nikki Excitement. So please take the time to watch the film.
Nikki what?
Nikki Excitement. Now, I looked this up twice. It was on IMDb and it was on Wikipedia, so I'm taking that as the name, Nikki Excitement.
Okay.
Excellent.
So yeah, watch the film beforehand. This has been a good one, guys. We've gone quite long, over an hour.
Over an hour.
It's a big one.
It's a good discussion.
Hopefully most people have stuck it through and listened and they want to join in with us.
Yeah, you should. Great.
All right. We will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks, boys.